You know, it must have been such a rare treat for Owen Farrell to see his dad this close to Christmas. Despite manufacturing a virus to get him out of seeing his son, Andy Farrell was this week forced to face his offspring side of Twickenham in what was likely the decider of Pool A in the Amazon Prime Super Ultimate Awesome Cup sponsored by the Amazon original series The Boys, streaming now. And this Christmas, he went all out, stepping up from the usual lump of coal and an evening without a clip round the ear by giving his son the greatest gift of all. A test match win. This was the scene as an empty Ireland slipped up against an extraordinarily competent English team. So, what did Owen Farrell's Legion get right that his father's 15 could not? Well, before I can say a word about Ireland, I'm afraid I'm first going to need to talk for at least 15 minutes about Wales. Extraordinarily competent sounds like damning with faint praise for this English team, but competence is what wins rugby matches, and now Warren Gatland has left Wales. England are probably the best team in the world at remaining competent under pressure. It's not really something you can do flashy analysis of. This passage currently playing through in fast forward is really quite remarkable. Teams on defence are drilled to hold for 5-6 phases and then to know how to get into shape for certain situations. But part of the beauty of rugby is that everything breaks eventually. The more phases the team plays, the more likely it is that the opposition fall out of set structure. And yet, England hold their shape close to perfectly for 14 phases. Amazon Prime, the only place you can stream the hit new series The Boys, helpfully put a game line graphic on screen so we can see clearly, without me doing much work, that Ireland basically gain and lose the same few metres over and over again here. Yes, a few times they work space for a good carry, they make some ground, but England have a kind of bend don't breakness to their defence. They'll give you 5 metres here, but they'll catch you 7 behind the gain line next phase. However, I did say almost perfectly, because eventually Ireland do produce the breakthrough. The Irish have been consistently playing off 9 close to the ruck for 15 phases, and if that's what you're facing, as a forward, you will naturally gravitate towards that space near the breakdown. We're beyond 10 phases, there isn't a drill for this, you're defending largely on instinct, so you'll stand where you expect to be needed. So, all 8 English forwards end up on this side of the pitch, about this area, and for the first time in 15 phases, and indeed in the full match, Ireland go wide to wide. They chuck it right from one wing to the other. England have it roughly covered. Human Bag and Monster Munch, Keith Earls slots into midfield and throws a loopy pass, but Slade can get Archie to ground. Now, with the English forwards having made tackle after tackle near the ruck, none of them are out wide-ish to slot in on the fringe of the breakdown, so when Slade decides to counter ruck, England are left for a winger and a centre trying to act as guards, which didn't go so well last time they tried it either, did it? Everyone fixates on Gibson Park's pick and go, and Earls can then take the offload and burst the multi-pack wide open, getting right up to the try line and not quite over. However, from there, Ireland do something utterly disgusting. The Farrell, that Andy will consider a son, clears out cleanly. 2 back rows help out, the ball's out, it's grand, all's good. Except England's defence is set exceptionally quickly. The first section of the defence is positioned perfectly, but when things get wider, they get slightly dodgier. Itoje is in the 13 channel, and only Joseph outside him. This is a clean-cut chance. There's loads of space out here if they can work it. Except Ireland's shape is like this. Look at it. Look at it. It's gross. I mean, what is that? What is that? I mean, I don't know if some of you might not be seeing this quite as I am, but this is... Oh... It's making me quite queasy. This is probably the worst attacking setup I've seen from a test team this year. And I've watched Wales. And here's the thing. You don't need any kind of fancy attacking shape in this situation. England's defence is bunched close to the ruck. So all it requires is backs to be stood in sequence to hands down the line. If one of them can fix Underhill or particularly Farrell, it's out wide. It's a good chance you'll score. Instead, the backs just sort of sit around. Gibson Park figures will have to go crash ball because nothing's set up. Except for whatever reason, Hugo Keenan has put himself on that crash ball, and instead of taking the tackle, he obviously tries to step because he's a fullback, but this futuristic concept confuses Kelleher, who overruns it, leaving Keenan isolated and hence turned over. England were incredibly impressive at the breakdown and seem to be an excellent exponent of a new trend I'm noticing this autumn. This has always happened, but the last month a hugely disproportionate amount of turnovers are being won on kick return, particularly against teams who don't drop their number 8 into the backfield, such as Ireland or Wales. Ireland did it themselves quite a bit last week against whoever it was they were playing, but this week England went turbo in the turnover targeting. Here, from a clearance, Youngs puts up a ball so well hung you'd think it's Johan Uge. Keenan takes it really well, but the kicker stayed in the air long enough for England's chase to follow up. But it's not for them to contest, not for them to try and nick the ball in the air. No, instead, let's go back to before Youngs makes the kick. After recovering the ball, England used Vunipola to crash it up, partly because this gives Youngs a better ankle to thump it, but it's also because Curry and Underhill, England's two biggest turnover threats, were both in the previous ruck. Curry then jogs round to the blind side, where Youngs is going to kick it, and bides his time on the chase, allowing for May and or Launchbury to actually make the tackle. Now, think about this, right? Once Ireland's forwards have jogged back, they then have to run an extra yard to get onside and enter the breakdown legally from the gate, whereas the kicking team can just fire a forward right at the ruck. As such, England will consistently now send Curry, Underhill or Itoje just behind the main chase, so that once the tackle is made, they can get in and turn a clearance into a penalty, which gives them a chance to attack. England are a team who know exactly what they are and play to it, which frustratingly is more than can be said for Ireland. There are some thermonuclear takes that Ireland are currently so bad they're basically one of the assortment of complicated anti-heroes in the Amazon Prime original series The Boys, streaming now. But much like I said about the ones I'm not going to mention, Ireland, I don't think are as bad. I think Ireland are actually pretty solid on Saturday watching it back, but they were ruined by one core contradiction at the heart of everything they do. Ireland are a patience team without any patience. The Irish game plan is very much based around slowly softening and opening a defence. It's extremely anti-Farrell. You use set structure and discipline and organisation to hit up until it opens up, which is also his parenting technique. And yet, when it comes to Ireland's tactics and decision making, they seem to have no patience whatsoever. Ireland started the game off with a clear plan to catch England in behind, using lots and lots, almost every single time they touch the ball, of probing kicks to pin them back. Initially into the corner, then when England started dropping their wingers back deeper to cover it, Ireland began just stabbing them down the middle instead. However, the moment England built a lead, Ireland abandoned their tactics and just began playing smash-up rugby instead. 12 points with 60 minutes to go is really far from insurmountable in Test rugby, but Ireland just started to believe it must be, and changed how they played. There was absolutely no proof that what Ireland were doing wasn't working. And if they believed in their tactics and game plan, they would have stayed calm and stuck to them instead of panicking and changing the script. Especially because it didn't need to be 12 points. Here, not so long after Johnny made his first try, Ireland have a penalty. If Byrne takes the shot here and nails it, it's 5-3, 2 points difference, nothing at all. Instead, Ireland go for the corner, they overthrow the line out, and England go, why not? And chuck it out to Jonathan May. I've never heard him called Jonathan May before. That felt weird. That felt weird to do. No, I don't like it. And May then goes full Brian Habana on Rugby 08 and becomes so overpowered you think he was a character in the stunning new Amazon original series The Boys, streaming now. It's an incredible solo try, and it's now 12-0 to England. And from there, new captain James Ryan takes after his predecessor Jumbleweed Sex Drop and becomes even more unanimous in turning down penalty opportunities. Ireland are a team relying on their patience over a set of phases, but they seem to refuse to be patient over 80 minutes and just chip away at the scoreboard. This all leads to a disproportionately frustrating performance. Ireland are actually pretty good in more aspects than not. There isn't really a cutting edge to their backline, but they've got a lot of injuries at the minute. Ireland conceded a lot of turnovers, but proportionally, they actually lost a smaller percentage of their rucks than England did. But they just haven't worked out how to use that possession. This was a team doing most things well, but managing the game really poorly. And it begins to show as the match rolls on. Because England are incredibly competent. They're just able to close the game out like it didn't even need doing. Maro Itoje was superb throughout and huge in disrupting Ireland just as they looked to get things going at any point. And this performance now gives England a really good opportunity for an even greater Christmas present than Andy Faz could ever gift. A shot to take on France for revenge from the start of the year. And with it, claim the Amazon Prime Cool Guy Cup for attractive people, which they can then celebrate by leaning back and watching the Amazon original series, The Boys, streaming now. However, first they need to play some other bunch of nerds who I've never heard of, whilst Ireland take on Georgia, who will probably not present the best opportunity to get over their game management woes, let's be honest. It's a tournament of rare treats and usual woes, and with 2 weeks left to go, it's far from over. thank you for watching that. I hope you enjoyed it. There are loads more bits on the channel. My video on how Argentina beat the All Blacks, my kind of 20-minute opus on that, will self-destruct in a few days for the time being, at least, while I'm hiding it from Sanzar. So if you want to go and have a look at that, please, I'd encourage you to do so. Something I'm quite proud of. So please, yeah, have a look at that. Have a look, poke around the channel. Next up will be France against England in the women's game at Twickenham from the weekend. The best game of the weekend by a pretty much a country mile. So I'm going to cover that next. I'm then going to look at Scotland-France. You know, all of this time dependent because there is another round of this coming up. I am by no circumstances going to look at Wales-Georgia. I am done with that. I never need to see the game again. I don't need to look at the highlights. That's fine. I'm done with that. Otherwise, I'm also done with this video. So I'll see you soon. I hope you're keeping well. Bye.
It wasn't. It's just giving England a chance.
And you don't. What?